Of course, a corporation should seek to be more than just be profitable. Of course, a corporation should seek good relations with its community. Of course, a corporation should seek to enhance rather than destroy its environment. Of course, a corporation should seek the welfare and happiness of its employees. But the people who run corporations and the people who judge them would do well to remember that the first responsibility of a corporation is to be profitable. A corporation that is uneconomic has no chance of contributing to the prosperity of its community, however well-meaning or good-intentioned its managers or owners may be. A corporation that is economic and profitable has a chance, is in a position to contribute to the prosperity of its community. A corporation is fundamentally an economic unit and must be judged as such. To suggest that there is a spectrum which has corporate social responsibility on one end and profitability on the other is misleading. If corporate social responsibility is to have a chance of making a real positive difference in the world that we live in, if corporate social responsibility is to be sustainable, it needs to be wedded with corporate success. This is not to say that corporations should seek to be profitable at all costs and regardless of the consequences. Sustainable economic performance requires socially responsible behavior. At the very least, this behavior needs to comprise three elements. Firstly, compliance with the law. Secondly, respect for the interests of key stakeholders, the host government, employees, the community at large, beyond the interests of shareholders. And thirdly, respect for the environment. These tenets are now universally acknowledged, but they are easier said than done because there are ethical dilemmas that we continue to grapple with. Consider the following dilemmas. What if the laws of the land are inadequate, deficient, or corruptly enforced? What if the laws of the land are silent on matters of social consequence? How do we reconcile between the interests of different stakeholders when these interests are in conflict, as they sometimes are? How do we reconcile between the interests of shareholders, the host government, employees, and the community at large? How do we prioritize when these interests are not in harmony? What are the rules that we require to determine where corporate social responsibility begins and ends? Who determines the interests of the community? Who speaks for the people? The host government? NGOs? If NGOs, which NGOs? Where does the corporation's responsibility for the environment begin and end? Should corporations go beyond the requirements and expectations of the host governments? There are no easy answers to these ethical dilemmas. Each corporation will need to make its own judgments with boldness, with clarity, and translate these judgments after consultation with host governments and with community leaders into a clear statement of what the corporation stands for, into clear policies which can be operationalized to ensure that what the company says it stands for and what it actually does is in harmony, into a clear policy as to where its responsibility begins and where it ends, and to clear guidelines as to how these ethical dilemmas are to be resolved. Consider how easy it is to bribe or to influence decisions through bribery while remaining in compliance of the law. Consider whether or not compliance with the law is about technical compliance or about complying with the spirit of the law. Consider the argument often put that bribery is sometimes the cost of doing business in a particular society. You don't even get to bid unless you pay the price for bidding. Consider the choices that must be made between winning and being ethical. Corporate social responsibility is not the same thing as corporate governance. They are often treated as the same thing, but they are not the same thing. Corporate governance is about managing a corporation so that it properly reflects the interests of shareholders and creditors. Corporate social responsibility, on the other hand, is about managing a corporation so that it properly reflects the interests of society. In the light of the Asian financial crisis, we have a growing convergence on what corporate governance is about. And this convergence is reflected in government legislation, in government regulation, in the way companies are managed